Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again here for session number 5. And we're going to be talking about something a little bit out of the wheelhouse for Management One, but we get a lot of requests from our clients and our retail experts about topics that we should cover in these webinars. And marketing is always a key need for retailers. So we have an excellent panelist in Mr. Marcus Anderson today, and we will get to that in just a bit. Before we dive into it, I want to do a little bit of house rules, as we usually do. Audio is going to be key here. So the GoToWebinar system offers 2 options, computer or phone. Please use whichever one is clearest for you. The second thing, very important, this is an open panel discussion. Towards the end, we want to save about 15 minutes for live questions for myself or the panel. So please submit them using the questions panel in GoToWebinar. Finally, the biggest question that we get most often is, will we be sending a recording out? And absolutely yes. If you have to check out for any reason, or if we go long, we are going to send a recording out after this so you can view it with your team on your own schedule. So who's Management One? For those folks who aren't familiar with Management One, thank you for joining us. We provide financial security for our people, our clients, and our affiliates. We deliver merchandise intelligence and education for independent retailers, and we do that with 6 key values in mind. We have generous heart, courage, curiosity, adaptability, commitment, and collaboration, including a commitment to increase racial and ethnic diversity. We've made a heavy commitment in June, and we're going to continue that for the foreseeable future. So today's session, I found a quote that I think embodies a spot-on representation of what we're looking to present here. And Dr. Robert Anthony says, moving fast is not the same as going somewhere. I'm using this visual analogy of an exercise bike because a lot of folks with COVID-19 were thrust into the digital space. They might not have had a website, maybe they weren't even advertising online, and there was just mad rush to get online, get ads up and running, start putting some dollars to it. A lot of folks received PPP loan money, EIDL. They had some available cash and they were able to put it into a website or advertising, and they started seeing the traffic jump up, clicks were coming in, and everything seemed to be going. But really what you're doing is you're expending all of this energy, and are you really going anywhere? In this analogy, all of that energy that you're pumping out on the bike is cash. And in this day and age, we want to make sure that what you're doing with your cash is giving you the best return. We know that digital marketing is no longer an option, especially once things return to a sense of normal, whatever that may be. Foot traffic has already been decimated for some sectors. It's starting to come back, but we don't know if it will ever fully return. We mentioned this in a few other webinars previously, that folks are getting used to ordering online. They're getting used to curbside service, and we don't know if those services are going anywhere. So now that you're online, you're playing in a much larger pool. There's a lot more competition. Folks might be selling the same products that you are. They might be going after the same demographic that you are. It's not just your small community anymore. You're on a much, much larger scale. And you have to stay top of mind. You have to make sure that you're capturing that market share. And in the digital space, that market share is eyeballs. People viewing your brand, your message, your content, your products, whatever it is that you have to deliver to them, you have to make sure that you're top of mind. So we're not saying in this webinar that traditional marketing is dead or it's useless. Absolutely not the case. There is certainly a case for radio, TV, even direct mail is starting to make a resurgence now that all of us are stuck closer to home. And static ads as well, whether it's a newspaper ad or magazine, or maybe a third-party digital space on somebody else's property. The only problem with all of those channels give you really minimal control. It's a one-sided conversation. It's really just you delivering a message and hoping that it resonates. A lot of these channels offer little audience transparency. They'll give you some demographic features, but they don't tell you truly who's looking at this. And a lot of the performance metrics are unreliable, whether you're paying by impression or you're looking at, again, a certain demographic, it's really up to the agency that's delivering your message to give you the metrics. And finally, it's really difficult to pivot. COVID-19 required an immense amount of agility, almost weekly. And with a lot of the traditional channels, it's tough to pivot that message. You have to secure these spots weeks, if not months in advance. So let's look at the digital space: email, social media, web retargeting, even AdWords and YouTube. These give you maximum control over what you're saying and who you're saying it to. And it's more of an interactive conversation. You know if they're resonating with a certain message, and you can deliver a follow-up immediately. You can target who you're speaking to in a hyper active way. Even dynamic audience creation almost automates some of the process. Talking about metrics again, you're getting real-time performance metrics, and it lets you pivot on a dime. And you know if something's not working, you can shut it down or tweak it immediately. So it just gives you a much more efficient way of spending your marketing dollars. So when you look at budget allocation, we're not saying to abandon 20th century methods, but you might want to shift more of your budget towards things that give you more control. I saw an article last week in Forbes, actually. Dr. Augustine Fu, put it down pretty succinctly in an article called The Cost Performance Paradox of Modern Digital Marketing. And I'll include a link to that when we send you the slides here. It's a great article that's worth reading, but he talks about a lot of these things, people obsessing over clicks and views and impressions. And are those the right metrics for you? You know, ROI is a very relative term. Some folks might not even be selling online. So for you, a click would be to set an appointment. It's not necessarily all sales driven. It's really dependent on your business model. But he talks about this spray and pray advertising. People are just putting out these blanket ads and sitting back and hoping that things work out. And there's a much better way to do it. There's a more targeted way to do it. The good thing is he also mentions small businesses, which is the vast majority of our client base and really who was hit pretty hard in COVID-19. You're much better positioned than these big box retailers to reduce waste. You have a much smaller, more targeted audience that you can go after. And one of the quotes that I like in here is, buying smaller quantities of ads targeted to real humans in the right audience segments will result in more business outcomes. And I like the real humans part because it was a great segue into our panel today. So I wanted to introduce Marcus Anderson, co-founder of We Market for Humans.
You hear me all right there, Nico?
I hear you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate.
I'm going to switch control over to you so you can drive the show.
Look out, folks. I'm in control. All right, here we go. All right, you see that all right, Nick?
Perfect.
Awesome. There it is here. All right, folks. I appreciate you being here today. My name is Marcus Anderson. I'm the co-founder of my agency called We Market for Humans. And like Nico was saying, it was a nice segue from what he was talking about, because our focus at We Market for Humans is people first marketing. And I know it sounds pretty on the nose and obvious, but when we think about what we do, you know, we think about what pre-selling, what marketing, and we use those words interchangeably, pre-selling and marketing, do people actually want, and what pre-selling and marketing do people actually need in order to become customers. And I think a lot of businesses overlook that. They, worry about having a glorious looking website and this really technical funnel and all this stuff. And really at the end of the day, there's just certain things people need in order to become customers and to become loyal, raving fans about, our brands. And so that's kind of what we focus on. I come from a traditional agency background. And what I mean by traditional is, we buy TV and radio and billboards and print and all of that stuff. But for the sake of today's subject about how to avoid wasting money in marketing, we wanted to focus on digital, and especially today, just social, because we're doing a lot of really cool things in social media marketing for businesses and brands that are really effective even at just a few dollars per day. And that's not some crazy hook to get you to buy into some program where we charge you more down the road or something. We're having really good results, and businesses are having good results at just a few dollars a day. So I want to show you a couple things that we're doing for that and how we make that happen. Just so you know, we work with a lot of e-commerce and solar and HVAC, F&B, casinos, auto dealerships, lots and lots of different industries. But most importantly, at least for our purposes today, we work a lot in retail as well. And everything I'm going to talk about today will work for you, whether you're solely selling brick and mortar or you're selling online or some combination of the two. All of these principles will apply. So just keep that in mind. And like Nico was saying, we'll have some time for questions and whatnot at the end of this here. Let's see, there we go. So today's focus and overview, what we're gonna talk about is how to get a steady stream of new people to know, like, and trust your business for as little as a few bucks per day. And we call that, at We Market for Humans, we call that people first marketing, okay? So you're gonna hear me say those three words a lot today: know, like, and trust. It's because they are hugely, hugely important. Because people who know, like, and trust you are the people who wind up buying from you, okay? So I've got a disclaimer, and that is none of this stuff is going to work unless your offer, your message, and your market are in alignment, okay? They need to be on point before this will work. You need to know your USP, your unique selling proposition. Now, lots of people know their selling proposition, but they don't necessarily focus on what's unique. Okay, so this is stuff to really, really put some time and work into before you worry about getting your message out to the market and spending money on advertising. Get those things in alignment. And so, when you have your USP dialed, that's your that's your North Star, right? That'll guide you home every time. You can reverse engineer everything you're doing back to that North Star. Another disclaimer is this is not a miracle cure, right? This is a slow and steady marathon when it comes to advertising and marketing your business. And based on that, everybody's business is different, their approach, their clientele, everything varies. So your results are going to vary based on a lot of different factors. So please keep that in mind. And because we have, limited time today, we're not going to go super deep with execution and implementation. This is going to be more about tactics and philosophy. I know everybody's got varying degrees of, Facebook and Instagram advertising, prowess. There will be some strategies and ideas that people with some, deep knowledge will be able to implement right away. Some of you guys might need to go to the University of YouTube and look some stuff up to see how to do certain things. But at the end of the day, like, you'll be able to walk away from this presentation today, implement some things, and I think you'll see some results that you'll be pretty pleased with. At the end of the presentation, we'll talk about a couple different ways, if you're interested, that we could possibly work together, your business and our agency, whether that's needing done for you agency services, or if you want to take a deeper dive into what we're talking about today, so you can learn how to execute this stuff yourself if you prefer to be a practitioner, or you've got somebody in-house that can handle this stuff for you. We'll talk about that a little later down the road. But here's the big thing to remember. What we're talking about today is just one piece of the puzzle. Like Nico was saying, there are so many advertising options out there. And like I said, we buy all of them for our clients: TV, radio, billboards, all that. But today we're talking about Facebook and Instagram advertising, because you can do so much with such a little budget and get a lot of information and make a lot of good things happen for your business. It's really powerful. And if you execute it consistently, it's going to increase the amount of people who know, like, and trust your brand. And remember, the people who know, like, and trust your brand, those are the people that buy from you. And those are the people we want. So I don't care about clicks like a lot of marketers do. I don't care about clicks because I'd much rather consider what actual user behavior looks like when people make decisions about purchasing. So when I make marketing decisions, I consider user behavior. We're all familiar with Nielsen, the Nielsen ratings. They just recently published that there's a 0.07% correlation between click-through rate and increased ROI. 0.07%. So it's a negligible amount. So I don't focus on clicks because you can get really lost in data that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all I care about is sales. I care about revenue from my clients. And I don't care about likes and ha-has and wows. All that stuff is great. They're vanity metrics and they give you indicators of people participating in your process. But at the end of the day, I want to know what's moving the needle. So I focus on marketing, which is pre-selling, okay? Your content can and should serve the purpose of pre-selling, getting people to know, like, and trust you. And what we do with this people first marketing approach accomplishes that for as little as a few bucks per day. And what's really cool about it is it's 100% scalable, meaning that once you find what's working at lower dollar amounts, you can slowly start to increase the amount of money you're putting behind your ads and scale them without losing performance. That's a big problem with Facebook ads. You get something that works and all of a sudden you throw a bunch of money behind it and it just tanks. Well, if you're going about this properly and methodically, you can scale these things and do very, very well with them without having that dip. So the fundamental of everything we're going to talk about today, and I've probably said that 3 times now, there's a lot of fundamentals, is the Facebook pixel is no longer an option. It hasn't been an option for a very long time, but with this new world we're all living in, the Facebook pixel is not an option. If you don't have one of those installed on your website now, it's really, really easy to make happen, whether you're on WordPress or WooCommerce or Shopify or Squarespace, anything. Installing that Facebook pixel is super, super simple. And you should do it even if you're not currently running ads. If you like, look, I don't run ads, everything's organic, word of mouth, whatever, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you need to install that now because everybody that hits your website can be pixeled by Facebook. And we can use that pixel information to create custom audiences. And we're going to get into how powerful those can really be. And you can create custom audiences based on engagement or website visitors, customers, all these great, like, lucrative audiences. And we can use those down the line for targeted ads, for creating lookalike stuff we're going to get into today. But just know that get it installed now if you haven't already. If you haven't, no shame, but going forward, promise me, make a promise to yourself, you're going to get this done. It'll take you 2 minutes.
Hey, Mark,
Maybe
one thing too, I know that we're going to be discussing mainly social and we only have 60 minutes, but that same strategy applies to other pixels. Facebook is just one option.
Yeah.
There's pixels for obviously Google Analytics. There's pixels for Bing advertising. There's a pixel for LinkedIn. And kind of to your point, even if you're not going to run ads on those, it's important to have them up. They're free. So put them on your site and just let the site accumulate data. You never know. 6 months from now, you might decide, oh yeah, I want to advertise on Google or Bing. You have 6 months of data pulled from your site to start creating those audiences from. So I would say as many pixels as you can.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. And you don't want to get that idea that, hey, I want to start advertising and then have to wait to accumulate these audiences. You could be doing it all the while. And it's huge. Once you see how powerful it can be, you're going to wish you did anyway. So if you take nothing else away from today's webinar, go install your pixels. So again, know, like, and trust is the foundation of people first marketing. So when I say no, here's what I want them to know. I want people, they need to know that you exist. They need to know that your business exists and know exactly what problem you can solve for them. Okay, that's very important. They need to know you exist and know that you have a solution for a problem that they have. We are all in the business of problem solving. Your business, regardless of what it is you sell, you solve a problem with that. I'm a problem solver. Management One solves problems for retail businesses. That's what we do, okay? And another thing we're going to find throughout this process of people getting to know us is that people are going to get to know that not everybody is your customer. And that's good because you don't want everybody. You don't want to be advertising to everybody more than you have to. You save your ad spend for the people who actually have a problem you can solve. Another thing to consider at this stage is that some people need to be aware that they should be your customer. Some people have problems that they didn't even realize they had until they realize that you have the solution for them. And that really lends to your credibility and authority, which we're going to talk about a lot today as well. All right, so that's a big thing about no. And when it comes to like, you need to provide content that furthers their belief that you are the choice to solve their problem, okay? And you do that by establishing authority and by establishing credibility. And any business can start this today. Even if nobody knows who you are, if you have no presence online, like you're just adapting to this new COVID world and you're finally getting out there, you've been a brick and mortar business and relied on that, referrals and other means of advertising, whatever, you can start this today. And the way you do that is you deliver content that is valuable to your ideal customer. What do these people need to see, know, and hear to believe that you can solve their problem? Think, reverse engineer this, right? What do these people need to see, know, and hear to believe that you can solve their problem, okay? And then we get to trust. And if you think about it, and again, this comes back to me caring more about user behavior than clicks and numbers and vanity metrics, but I know personally, and people that I interact with, nobody buys anything anymore without going to Amazon and checking a review or Googling it and getting reviews. Nobody goes to a new restaurant very often unless someone else has told them they should go there or they look at a Yelp review. So it's really important to get people to trust you. And you do that because by delivering people testimonials and reviews, and you get to bring them right to people's news feeds, right? You'd be surprised, and maybe not depending on your experience, but how many businesses do a great business. They've got raving fans and customers and love them, but they don't have reviews. They don't have testimonials. They don't have a method or a process in place to accumulate those. To those of you who might fall in that boat or feel like you could be doing better about that, I highly recommend you start spending some time getting those together and figuring out a way to accumulate those testimonials and reviews, because they're great content and they really help people make purchasing decisions. So video testimonials are obviously the best, right? Because you can take those and you can run those directly as videos. You can convert those into text reviews. You can convert them into a nice little image with a nice soundbite pulled out. There's lots of flexibility there. But by the same token, that's not the end all be all of reviews and testimonials. You can definitely take a written testimonial, a posted testimonial or review, and convert that into video. You just need to be a little more creative about how you do it. Because at the end of the day, you can talk about how great your business is. You can pay a voiceover artist and produce a really expensive or commercial and have people talk about how great you are. But at the end of the day, nothing resonates more with people than other people singing your praises. Okay. It's just how we all operate. And when you put all of these, elements of know, like, and trust together, and you get people to know that you have a solution for their problem, and then you further that, credibility and authority, and then you get them to trust you because other people say you're great, you're bulletproof. You've just set yourself up for success. So now what? So we're going to go into what, content to run and how to, what this funnel might look like and things like that. But let's just take a stop right here and look. These people know you and they know you've got a solution for a problem. Remember, we've weeded out your non-customers. I'm going to show you how we do that in a second. You've built authority with valuable content, and you've established credibility and trust through third-party verification. That's the reviews, testimonials, social proof we talked about. Now you get to provide that call to action, right? Get them into your store. If you have this sign on your store, congratulations, you're famous in this webinar too. So the big question we get asked a lot, and it seems to be the biggest hurdle for people to jump into the social media space, is what kind of content should I run? I don't know what to post. What do I post? I don't know what to run. At the end of the day, the answer is just content. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's true. You need to try everything. Everything is just a test, right? Your ads never fail. Even if you're like, oh man, that ad bombed, it really didn't. It provided you data about what didn't work, or maybe what audience didn't work, or what placement. There's so much data to be taken from even a quote unquote failed ad campaign that it's just worth trying and testing things. And when you're testing things at the dollar amounts that I'm going to show you today, you're not going to feel bad about something failing because you might be out $5, $10, $20 versus $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 with the traditional media buy where you don't find out if it failed till it's already over. Like Nico was showing you, when he was comparing and contrasting different types of media buys, traditional media buys make it very difficult to pivot and to get information before it's too late. Social, digital, we have real-time metrics, and we can really use that to drive our decisions. But since you did ask what kind of content you should run, and I gave you a ridiculous answer like content, let's get a little more specific. At the end of the day, video is king, okay? You can read every study, survey, whatever. Video is going to come out as king, and the reason why is people just engage with it more. And remember, the more time people engage with you is more time they're spending with your brand. what ends up happening for a lot of people is they get kind of hung up on creating video content. It's like, I don't know how to make video. I'm not comfortable in front of a camera, whatever excuse they might have. There's so much flexibility in conveying information through video that there's something for everybody. There's a way to make this work for you and your style. You can be creative with it. You can be very on the nose with it. It's going to be decided. You're probably going to decide that based on your business, the nature of your business, the customers you're going after, your own personality type, things like that. What's really, really cool about using video on Facebook and Instagram is that it allows us to create custom audiences based on how long people watch our videos. So if we put out a video that's, say, 3 minutes long, which you would never do on TV, right? Run a 3-minute long video and people watch 50% of it. That's 90 seconds they've spent with your brand. And if these are brand new people, cold audiences, what is that worth to your business to all of a sudden have somebody who spent 90 seconds one-on-one with you? Those are people that have expressed some kind of interest, right? So we want to make an audience of those people, and we want to start marketing to those people because they've expressed an interest in what we're, in what we're offering. So video is king, but it is not everything. That's why I said just test content. Test. Images, blog posts, videos, carousel ads. There's so many different options. Facebook is always rolling out new advertising options. That a lot of them are in Instagram as well. Remember, Facebook and Instagram Facebook owns Instagram. Facebook also owns a lot of other properties and advertises in a lot of other properties. So it's just worth testing everything just to see what works. You can't speculate on what you think is going to work. You need to find out for real. Okay, because until you know, you don't know. You're just speculating. So what do you say? You've got this, you got the video, I'm gonna do video, I'm gonna do images, I'm gonna do whatever. What do I say? And here's what I tell my clients all the time. Think about your daily customers. Okay, you are an expert in your business. These people ask you the same questions, they have the same concerns and challenges, they come up all of the time. How do you answer those? That's the content you put out. Repackage it, put it into a video, put it into an image post, whatever it is, and put that out there. If it's valuable to the people that you're seeing face to face or over the phone, it's valuable to a whole lot more people that don't even know, or that you don't even know are out there. If you put your message out in front of the right people, they're going to find you. Okay, so that's one angle for content. Another angle is and this is kind of piggybacking off that, is you have a lot of specialized knowledge, right? Knowledge that goes even deeper than the surface level questions people ask you already. And the way to think about that is, what do I know that if other customers knew it or potential customers knew it, they'd feel like this revelation, like this whole world just opened up to them, okay? Not only does that solidify your expertise and authority and credibility, it's really good content, really valuable content, right? We're not putting stuff out for the sake of putting it out. We're putting it out there to provide value to people. It helps them, it helps us. Another thing you can put out there is, obviously, and this is the one most businesses will defer to, is information about their business, right? We've been in business 30 years. We started this company because of this. We serve this, sector of people. This is, info on their culture, your company culture, fun facts about your business, etc. All that stuff is content. All that stuff is great. But I will tell you this. At the end of the day, people really care about what your business can do for them. So always keep that in the back of your mind. It's good to have a well-rounded, understanding of who you're doing business with. We all like to do business with people that we want to do business with, and that we know and like and have a sense of understanding. But at the end of the day, what can your business do for this person, right? How can you solve their problems? And when you can position your content from that angle to the right people using this method, you can't lose, okay? You become a problem solver, and that's what we want to do. We want to solve people's problems. All right, so I used to be a high school teacher for almost 15 years, and I know you're looking at that photo of me that went out with the Management One email, and you say, there's no way, that guy's 27 years old. Did he start teaching when he was 12? No. But yeah, so I taught high school for about 15 years, and all of us learn in different ways, right? Some of us like to listen, some of us like to watch things, some of us like to read, some of us are very tactile and kinesthetic, like we need to touch things and kind of get in the mix. Well, we also have various learning modalities and ways we like to interact online. Our online behaviors vary in the same way. So, some people really love watching videos. Some people are just clickers. They click everything and they want to go to a website and read a bunch of stuff. Some people are commenters and engagers and share. Everybody's different. And that's not to say it's a black or white thing. We just have preferable behaviors, okay? And Facebook is creepy smart. Their algorithm and their artificial intelligence is super powerful. And they're able to optimize their advertising based on these behaviors. So what a lot of people will do is just run a traffic ad, like, oh, I want to run traffic to my website. I want website clicks. Or I want to run engagement because I want to get a bunch of likes and shares and comments on my post. And so they'll just do one or the other or whatever. What we like to do is run the exact same ad with different optimizations. So I'll run the same ad with a traffic optimization, the exact same ad with engagement, the exact same ad with video. Of course, this would have to be a video ad, right? And what that does is that covers my bases. It helps me scoop up a whole bunch of people who I might otherwise leave out if I just chose one or two of those optimizations, okay?
Mark, it sounds to me almost like, to use an analogy again, it's almost like fishing. You want to have as many lines in the pond as possible. And then if you get a bite, you proceed on that route with whatever the next ad is.
Exactly. You want as many lines in the water with as many types of bait as possible. And what's cool about that is some bait's going to work, some bait isn't. Some areas of that pond aren't going to be great. Some of them are going to be completely just desolate. So, but you don't know until you put that stuff, you put the lines in the water, right? Yeah. So that's a really good analogy. Here's what I like about People First Marketing and the way we do this. We're always reaching new audiences, okay? Always reaching new audiences. And that's hugely important because if you aren't reaching new people, your business is stagnant and you're relying on a fixed group of people to keep you afloat, and that's dangerous. As we've all seen, there's too many variables in this world to rely on just a stagnant customer base. So we call these people, the new people, they're cold audiences. You've heard this before, top of funnel, TOF or tofu. There's a lot of different ways to express that, but always going after cold audiences. And there's two ways to go after cold audiences on Facebook. There's interest targeting, right? People are interested in CrossFit or gambling, muscle and fitness magazine. You can go through and you can spend hours going through Facebook's interest targeting, behavior, demographic targeting. There's a lot of that stuff there. When you're doing that, that's one example of going after cold audiences, okay? And then there's lookalike audiences, and these come back to that custom audience, or the custom audiences I was referring to when I was saying how important the Facebook pixel is. So when you have let's say you have a custom audience of people who've purchased from you in the last 90 days, okay? These are people who have actually purchased from you. You have their emails and information, and you upload that to Facebook and say, hey, this is my custom audience of purchasers in the last 90 days. Facebook goes, oh, you like these people, huh? Well, we've got a whole bunch of other people who look just like them based on their behaviors and attributes, and we're Facebook and we're super creepy. We know everything about them. So we suggest you make a lookalike audience of these people too. So we do that. And that's another segment of cold audience targeting. So Facebook's saying, hey, if you like these people over here, create a lookalike of them, and we're going to go after all these new people who haven't seen your stuff before, okay? Now, reminder, these are cold audiences, and where you see that yellow highlight there on the middle of the screen there, here's a tip. Think about your most lucrative, desirable audiences. Purchasers tend to be right at the top of the list. Recency is hugely important, right? People that have purchased from you most recently, especially when you think about the world today, your purchasers from a year ago may not look like the purchasers of the last 3 months. Your mailing list members, people that are actually engaged with your mailing list, right? You know who opens your emails. People who spend the most time on your website, you can target people who spend the top 5% of time on your website, 10%, 25%. We talked about people watching your videos for a certain amount of time. You can choose 25%, 50%, there's lots of options. Those are the people you create your custom audiences from. Now, at the bottom there's a top of funnel note. We exclude our existing audience, and that's our middle of funnel we're going to talk about next. We exclude those people from our top of funnel campaigns, which means the only people that see them are cold audiences. When I say we're always reaching new audiences, I can say that because I'm excluding anybody else who's in my audience already from those ads. So this is an example of a campaign for 4 campaigns for 1 video ad. And we run these at $1 a day. Okay, so everything you see here is $1 a day, so $4 a day total for this example right here. So what you need to know is assume there's one video ad. And I told you how I run that one video ad to multiple optimizations, right? So you can see here, the budget all across the board is $1 a day. Facebook optimization, because it's video and it's cold, I do engagement and I do video views. Engagement and video views. It's the same video, just different optimizations. And I'm running my engagement optimization to my lookalike audience, and I'm running my video view optimization to my lookalike audience, okay? Then I take the same video and I run an engagement optimization to my interest audience, and then I take that same video and run a video view optimization to my interest audience, okay? So this interest A and interest A, that's the same audience. Running the same ad, just different optimizations. Same thing over here. My lookalike audience is the same exact lookalike audience, and you can have several, but this happens to be the same one. Different optimizations, both for $1 a day. And remember, we exclude our middle of funnel from the top. This is my top of funnel audience, right? So I'm excluding my middle of funnel. I call that my hot 28, and we'll talk about that in a second. And you can rinse and repeat this for every ad, audience, et cetera, depending on your budget and how much content you have and what you feel comfortable running. But you could literally have a top of funnel ad campaign, top of funnel campaign going at $4 a day, just looking like this. It's going to be slow going, but you will start to get data and you will start getting people spending time with your brands. So as long as you're putting out relevant, engaging content, people will be spending time with your brands. Okay. So a quick note on placements, like I keep saying, Facebook's really, I call it creepy. I love it as a marketer, right? But they know so much about us. They know what we're going to do before we do it based on what we've done in the past. You can get lost in how creepy that might feel, but at the end of the day, if you're running a business or if you're a marketer or whatever, you need to harness that and use that to your advantage because that stuff's not going anywhere, right? So what I like to do is I let Facebook's algorithm do all the heavy lifting. I let them find the right person at the right time with the right message, because at the end of the day, Facebook has to provide a great engaging experience for people, or people are going to use other platforms. There is no shortage of platforms to use. So Facebook has to give you the best possible experience. Your Facebook feed looks different than mine, which looks different than Nico's and looks different. So just remember that. But here's the thing. You can't retarget video views in one of the offerings that Facebook has, and that's the Audience Network's in-article and reward videos. They're really cheap placements. You can get video views for like a fraction of a penny there, but you can't retarget off that. So it's great for a quick like branding or like a reminder about something, but if you want to retarget your audiences, you might want to go in manually and exclude those. All right, let's talk about the middle of funnel hand raisers. So these people at the top of the funnel, they watched our video. Some people immediately scrolled through, it wasn't for them, but some other people spent some time with it or engaged with it, and they expressed some level of interest. We move those people into our existing middle of funnel audiences. So this middle of funnel is going to be more value-based content, valuable content that's testimonials, deeper dives into your offer, deeper dives into your problems that you solve, etc. And the way to think about it is, what content will get people to begin to like and trust my company enough now that they know that we can help them? So they know we can solve their problem, but how do we get them to choose us to actually solve it for them? So we create this thing called the Hot 28. The Hot 28 excludes our top of funnel audiences, okay? We only want this content to go to the people who have raised their hands in a figure of speech, right? So if they've engaged with any of our content in the last 28 days, they get more content from us, okay? And once you get enough content out there, in a variety of it, testimonials, more problem and offer content, expansion, information about your business, things like that, the more they engage with it, the more of it they're even going to see. So it becomes this cycle where you become everywhere. This omnipresence starts to develop. And you can see how, even if you aren't the biggest fish in the pond, if you're targeting right and you're running something like this and you keep showing up in one person's feed, you seem a lot bigger than you may be. And that creates authority and credibility as well, and makes your, just serves your purposes a lot better. So the way we run a middle of funnel campaign at $1 a day, this is how we might do this. So this, again, assume the same video ad, okay, with 4 different objectives, all running at $1 a day, okay? They're all at $1 a day. I'm pretty sure you can see my mouse on the screen. They're all running to this Hot 28 audience, okay? The only difference is This one is optimized for engagement. This one's optimized for video views. This one's optimized for traffic, right? Driving landing page views. And this one is optimized for conversion. Conversion can be anything from an actual sale to an add to cart or initiate checkout, or maybe it's getting them to sign up for your newsletter, mailing list, that kind of thing. Conversion means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, like Nico was talking about earlier. Big takeaway from this is it's the same ad for $1 a day per ad or per optimization to that hot 28 audience. Okay. This is how we create omnipresence. This is how we establish authority and credibility for just a few bucks per day per campaign level. Here's a side benefit of people first marketing and this middle of funnel tactic that I'm showing you, top of funnel as well, is Facebook. If you might have even had some experience with this, Facebook is notorious for shutting down ad accounts, etc., without any warning or specific explanation. They'll just do it and they'll send you some reason why they did it that when you read it out loud just sounds like a bunch of gibberish and doesn't necessarily usually apply to what actually happened. But what's great about this is it keeps your content only in front of people who keep engaging with it. So it becomes this really beautiful cycle of engagement, more engagement, more engagement. And it's relevant content. These people are loving your stuff. So it helps your account quality. It helps your relevancy scores because Facebook recognizes this as good, relevant content, and that looks favorably upon your ad account. So it's just a side benefit of all of this so that you can keep your account from shutting down. Side note that's not on here anywhere, I always recommend having a backup ad account or two set up all ready to go just in case your ad account gets shut down. You can continue running ads again without losing too much steam and too much ground. But that's another talk for another day. When we get to our bottom of funnel, which we're not going to talk about too much today, I create an audience what I call a hot 7. And this is where you can really start making strong calls to action. You know, if you want to get them into your store, if you're having a sale, if you want to get them over your online store, whatever the case may be, you're going to create a hot 7 audience, which is just like your hot 28 audience, except it's going to be with people who have taken some desirable action in the last 7 days. And typically that desirable action will be they've been to a particular product page, or they've added to cart, or they've watched a very specific video that you know primes somebody for a sale or becoming a customer. That's how I create that hot 7. And I exclude my hot 28 from that because I just want that small subsection of people to get this messaging. It's the same campaign structure as you've seen before in the top of funnel and middle of funnel. But I like to test optimizations here. Most people will tell you, oh, bottom of funnel, you just go conversions. Yeah, most of the time. But what happens or can happen is sometimes a traffic objective can do really well. I'm helping an e-commerce campaign that is getting a 9x return on ad spend running traffic ads, which is unheard of, but it's happening. So like it comes down to that whole thing where you don't know until you try. One thing to note here is the $1 a day thing isn't necessarily going to work at this level. It all depends on what your cost per acquisition is. You should be able to look at the end of your funnel and be like, okay, it cost me X amount of dollars for a sale. You want to have, if you say it costs you 20 bucks and you're trying to get 10 sales a day, you're going to want to put $200 a day into that particular campaign. Remember, my friends, all the while you're doing this middle of funnel, bottom of funnel stuff, winter is always coming. And by that, I mean you have cold audiences always coming in behind these people when you have your campaign set up right and you're not spending a lot of money to do it. These are potential new customers. When you get to the point where you've been running this stuff for a while and you can see what content people are really engaging with, they're really like getting something out of it, they're commenting on, you're getting lots of views, shares, those kinds of things. That's your winning content. When you start getting winning content like that, I suggest moving that to your top of funnel as well. You can run it middle of funnel still, but also bring that top of funnel because there's something about that content that resonates with people. And it just gives you a better fighting chance at the top to bring in more cold audience people and get them to fall into that hot 28 and just keep moving them through your cycle. So your best winning middle of funnel content, you're going to want to move to the top, okay? So there's a ton of tactics and stuff we haven't really covered yet today, even just how to track this stuff and how to make decisions, how to implement this stuff, bigger picture kind of stuff. We'd never, in 45 minutes or a half hour, whatever, be able to cover all of that. So that's why we offer a couple different ways. If you're interested in learning more about the stuff, whether you want to do it yourself or you're like, I got enough stuff going on, guy, you do it. One thing you can do is we are specifically for the Management One webinar attendees today, we're going to be hosting a 4-part Facebook ads instructional series. We're going to limit it to 20 people because I want it to be hands-on. And it's basically going to be live instruction with the videos will be obviously recorded and you'll have access to those, Q&A coaching sessions, direct support with access to me via email for your accounts and questions and things like that. And then we're going to go in obviously really, really deep on what it is we've discussed here today. And like I said, we're going to customize it especially for you and your business and the needs that you have when it comes to Facebook and marketing. And so if you're interested in that, our URL is wemarketforhumans.com/M1. That M1's for Management One, obviously. But if you don't want to do this stuff yourself, be it not a practitioner, you've got enough going on with your business, we do offer done-for-you agency services, all based on this methodology of people first marketing. I've got a couple slots left on the roster here. If you're interested in that, you can hit that same link, wemarketforhumans.com/M1. Okay, I really, really appreciate your guys' time. Nico, I think questions, comments, that kind of deal?
Absolutely, thank you. I hesitated to jump in on some of those because I know you had a lot to get out there. So great information. I love the snowball effect of it.
Yeah,
I think that's the
huge,
best
man.
part. It's almost like an automated research and development team. And you see what works. The minute you find something that works, you put it right back to the beginning of the funnel. And it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger over time.
That's exactly
I went
it.
ahead and put the link in chat for everyone as well, but we are going to include it on the slides that we send out. So let me get to some questions here. The first one, I think I actually already addressed. Technically, I typed it out. Somebody was asking, where do we install this Facebook pixel from? Do you want to talk about that one really quick?
So basically what you'll do is you're going to want to, if you haven't already, you're going to want to set up a Facebook Business Manager. So you're going to go to business.facebook.com and they'll walk you through all the steps of setting up your business manager. And inside of that business manager, you'll add your Facebook page or pages, and you'll add your Facebook ad accounts. And if you don't have these things, you can always create them from inside of there. And then there's a section on the left side of that panel that says Events Manager. And you'll go to Pixels. And you'll go to Pixels and Facebook will just walk you through the process, and they will give you a little piece of code, or to give you your Facebook pixel number. And depending on what platform you're on, if you're on, for example, if you're on
I know Shopify makes it very easy.
Yeah, Shopify makes it really easy. You can go in and you just put that number in there. WordPress does the same thing. There's a plugin called Pixel Your Site, and you just give them that number. What I would suggest doing is just YouTubing it or Googling, how do I install a Facebook pixel WooCommerce? How do I install a Facebook pixel WordPress? Whatever it is, there's a million videos on this stuff. That's the best way to go.
Perfect. This isn't actually a question, but one of our attendees had a comment. When you were talking about video, they were saying that the bar for production value has really dropped during COVID-19. I would say even before that too, with the advent of some of the newer iPhone cameras, you don't have to spend a ton of money producing a video. A lot of our retailers have really taken to this almost guerrilla style, in your face Facebook Live selling model. And that's fine. I think that's even better in some instances. It looks more genuine if it's just you speaking to an audience. You don't have to spend a lot of time and energy producing these videos. What would be your take on that one?
You really don't. And it comes down to that whole testing thing. Like at the end of the day, are you providing valuable, relevant, engaging content to people? And you don't know until you put it out there and give the market a chance to talk back to you. So you could spend a ton of money and, plug for my agency. We do video production all day long, and people spend thousands and thousands of dollars based on what they think is going to work, right? But what happens is you could spend all that money and put that message out there, and it just falls flat. So people are getting results by just creating content, and you're able to create so much more of it and paint such a broader picture of your company and the problems you solve, and just you can go so much deeper. And like you said, people don't necessarily care anymore about production value. Obviously, a crazy shaky camera or like just something that's god awful is god awful. Like you can't polish. All right, we're gonna keep this professional, right? But at the end of the day, content is content. And if you're making valuable content and you're putting it in front of the right people, they're not going to care how polished and produced it is. They're going to care that you can solve their problem.
Excellent. Rick is asking us, how do you measure what tactics are working and what tactics are not working?
Well, that's a good question. So it's a matter of, there's a variety of things to look at, right? So for instance, let's take a video ad example. If I've got, and I go back to this example, say I have a 3-minute video and I can set up my Facebook reporting and to where I can how many people are watching my videos and where they're falling off. So people that are watching 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, I can see those numbers as they get smaller, right? The longer the video goes on, obviously fewer people are going to watch it. But when I can see that, okay, so I've spent $1 today and I had 50 people watch 50% or more of my video. So for $1, I got all 50 people, so 2 cents a piece to spend 90 seconds with me. That is unheard of, right? So I look at things like that. If I'm looking at traffic, I will look at, all right, so I pay for traffic campaigns. How much is a cost per click costing me? How much is a landing page view costing me? It's one of those things like without sitting down and looking at your specific instance and case and concern, we couldn't address every possible possibility right here. But thinking about what your end objective is and what it's costing you and what you're actually getting, those are the 3 things I'll look at. What am I trying to achieve? What is actually happening? And what's it costing me to get that? Am I okay with that? Am I getting good results from that? Because again, like you might be getting a ton of clicks, but if you're not getting a ton of sales, who cares, right? If your sales aren't adding up, you don't care how many clicks you're getting or how cheap they are. But if they're a little more spendy and you're getting fewer of them, but you're getting a great return on your spend, you're happy to do that too. So it's a case by case thing.
Hey, Mark, your sound is breaking up just a bit. I'm going to take one question that I think I can answer, but I just wanted to see if you could fix the audio in just a bit here.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay. The next question was, Brandy was asking, we talked earlier about adding people into these audiences, and she's asking us, is uploading customer emails the same as quote unquote selling data? And could we be at risk with that? And that's a really good question. Technically what it is, you're not selling it, you're sharing data. And if you're running a website, you should have a privacy policy up on the site. And any privacy policy does have a section that says, we do share this with third-party companies. If you have a Google Analytics tracking pixel on your site, you are sharing data. The other thing I would say too, since we're talking about emails, is just because somebody unsubscribes from your email service, there's a lot of retailers out there that are sitting on a mountain of unsubscribed emails. It's worth uploading those as well. Just because they don't want to see an email from you doesn't mean that they can't have a video ad or something served to them top of funnel. And you'll find out really quickly if they resonate with that or not, based on what Mark was talking about with progressing to middle of funnel. So short answer for that one, Brandy, is no, you're not selling data, and you're only at risk if you don't have a privacy policy on your site. The next one here, what percentage of my overall budget should be allocated to ads? I can start that one off. I think Marcus talked about it initially. You have to look at your own business, starting with your margin, starting with your cash flow, and you really have to reverse engineer it from there. If you're talking about industry benchmarks, anywhere within 5% to 10% of your overall revenue is probably a good starting point when you're looking at marketing. And then it really just depends on the types of products that you're selling, what your available cash looks like, and you can just reverse engineer your budget to fit your needs. Marcus, are you back with us?
I think so. Does that sound better?
Way better. Perfect.
Yeah, just kind of
for you. Oh yeah, no, keep going.
Okay. Well, I was going to say is, sometimes when you're a small business owner, you've got a finite, obviously, like amount of money that you can invest in advertising. And so you need to be very prudent about that. And so what I like about Facebook and Instagram is you can get a lot done for very little, and you can start to get data and see what works, and you can scale from there. And like I said before, everything works. It's just a matter of the cost of it. So as things start to get some, you get some legs and things are starting to work, yeah, start spreading out, start scaling into other platforms and other media streams. But what I would caution you against is being beholden to any one media platform for too long, because you never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen, what changes might occur, what laws might get passed to where it could completely upend your business and you don't have a fallback or a contingency plan. That it can get really ugly for certain people. So just keep that in mind. Try to diversify a little bit. Obviously, you want to put the majority of your investment into what's actually working. That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back into what we were talking about as far as putting as many tracking pixels as possible, because who knows? God forbid one day all of a sudden Facebook just shuts down or your account is shut down. You can pivot really quickly, and now you have months of data that have been accumulating on another channel.
Absolutely.
So what is your opinion? Tom Crawford is asking, what's your opinion on Facebook Live videos versus Instagram stories or things of that nature?
So here's my opinion. Yes, do all of it. Okay. Here's what I love about Facebook Live. And this is what kind of will be disheartening for some people, especially if you've got little to no audiences. You'll start a Facebook Live and there'll be like 3 people. One of them's your mom, the other one's your friend, and you feel awkward about talking about your business or whatever your presentation is. But what's great about Facebook Live is people get notifications that you're live, which is great. That's free advertising. But also too, that lives on your page. You can repurpose that content. You can take your Facebook Live and put money behind it. And as you accumulate audience, just because you don't have an audience doesn't mean what you're talking about isn't important, right? Or isn't going to be valuable down the line, or valuable or true 3 months, 6 months down the line. So putting that stuff together on Facebook Live is great. Instagram stories, there's a ton of eyeballs in Instagram stories, right? So yeah, do that too. And your best stories, you can save. You can save all of your Instagram stories and create little categories, and you can have a really nicely organized Instagram page as well. It comes down to time and resources, I think, for a lot of people, where it's like,
Yeah.
you can't possibly be as effective on every platform as you want to be unless you've got a budget and you've got somebody who can you paying somebody to do all this stuff for you. But I would recommend going in at least on something and dedicating time and effort into one platform. And when you're comfortable there, move on to the next one. Otherwise, you're just gonna be, it's so easy to get overwhelmed. I mean, the internet is just a million miles a minute. So you might as well pick your lane, get comfortable there, and then just like anything else, scale out from there.
Excellent. Final question, and I think it's going to be subjective to whatever business they're running and how effective these funnels are. But Alexis Timko is asking, how long should we run campaigns for each funnel?
I would run them until you're seeing a obvious drop off in performance, or if your offer changes, if you have a seasonal offer, or things for whatever reason your offer pivots, or that content isn't relevant anymore. But as long as things are working, keep those things going. Don't take them for granted. Still keep your eyes on them, and things that are really working middle of funnel, again, move those top of funnel, because there's something about that content that is really resonating with people. And so there's a good chance you can increase your cold audience acquisition by putting that content out there as well.
Awesome. We are getting up to the hour. I did want to take a couple of quick minutes. We had a few questions that I think are going to be very specific that we can't really answer live. So if you do, we put Marcus's email here. Thank you for including that. Please just reach out to him. I pick your brain quite often just because I've known you quite a while. So you're usually going to answer my texts if I send them.
Usually.
But usually. If you do have a more specific question, feel free and reach out, Marcus at wemarketforhumans.com. Can you go to the next slide, please, sir?
I can.
And what we're talking about on the next slide is basically session number 6, the final session in our 6-part series. Can't believe we're already at number 6 here. And that's going to be next Tuesday, September 1st at the same time as this one, 10 a.m. Pacific. And when we send out the slides to all the registrants, we're going to have a button for you guys to register right there. But that's going to be a really important discussion on data-driven decision making. Kind of dovetails into what we're talking about today. Same thing that you want to do with your ads, you also want to do with your business. Don't just go with your gut feeling. Use the data that you're getting to make the decisions that are going to be most beneficial for your business. I want to thank Mark for joining us today. Thank you, sir.
Thanks
And
for
I want to
having me,
thank all
guys.
the attendees as well. Everyone's spending their time with us. Again, if you had to leave early, we are going to send out a video, and we're going to send that to you shortly. But I appreciate everyone's time today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.